This is Lama Tantrapa. Welcome to the Master Class dedicated to harmonious strength training. Today, we are going to jump right into the topic of harmonious strength training because time is of the essence. We are going to explore both the benefits and unique features of this particular method of training. And I'm also going to share with you some amazingly good news that you will love to receive by the end of this call. So without any further ado, you know who I am. I just introduced myself. I'm Lama Tantrapa. I am the founder of Academy of Qidao and creator of Harmonious Strength Training Method. However, this method of strength training is not new because many of the aspects of it go back to prehistory. That's right. That's what people were doing when they didn't have exercise machines. They didn't lift weights. You know, if they were hunters or gatherers, they needed to lift some weights sometimes, but they often also did something else. They were exploring ways to strengthen themselves, perhaps often not even thinking about it. And over time, of course, people learned how to develop greater and greater strength. They noticed that some people are stronger than others. And among people who were particularly strong were the warriors of the Shambhala kingdom in Tibet. That's right. They were particularly well known for amazing strength that they developed for the purposes of being able to protect their kingdom. They were warriors who were not only capable of kicking ass, but they were also operating at the high level of human capacity. They were practicing things in the environments where most people would have a hard time functioning. You know, really high up in the mountains where there is not very much oxygen to breathe. And in general, dealing with a lot of challenges related to being out in nature at high altitudes. And they were also undefeated. As far as I know, the history of Shambhala Kingdom is such that it's never been conquered by any other kingdoms or countries. Now, why are we talking about them? Is because they were amazingly strong. And some of their strength training methods also got inherited by the Shaolin monks. That's right. Shaolin monks are those rare Buddhist monks that actually practice martial arts. And in the context of their martial arts training, they also do some strength training. And one of the things that they do for strength training is very similar to the Shambhala Warriors training method, the one that I used as a foundation, as the cornerstone of harmonious strength training. And I'm going to be sharing all about it today. Well, to the extent that a short masterclass allows us space and time to explore this. I'm also going to be offering you an opportunity to dive deeper into the subject of training so that you experience it firsthand, not just theoretically, but in practice. And in order to experience it in practice, I'm actually going to be sharing some principles. And unlike most of my other masterclasses, I'm actually going to be giving you some exercises to do right here in front of the cameras. So please make sure to keep the cameras on or turn them on so that I can see you, so that I can give you some feedback on what you're doing, whether or not you're doing it well, and also how to improve things. I'm also going to be demonstrating a few things. So I'm going to be stepping back just a little bit. So what is harmonious strength training? Well, it's a method of training that follows a different set of principles and approaches compared to the majority of strength training methods and protocols. The majority of strength training relies on lifting weights or using exercise machines, right? We don't lift weights and we don't use any exercise machines. So what do we do? Well, you may be thinking, this guy is talking about calisthenics. What's calisthenics? Well, it's basically the gymnastics type movements where you're doing some handstands, you're doing some rolls or flips, or maybe just doing some push-ups or chin-ups or various other body weight exercises. There is one or two body weight exercises that I actually teach and practice, but the vast majority of the practices that I'm talking about today is not based on body weight, nor is it based on any other type of gymnastics or calisthenics. Well, you may be thinking, okay, so what else is available there? Oh, yes, maybe you have heard of isometrics. Isometrics, it's like the person, for example, is squeezing the muscles just to the top of their capacity and doing that for a little bit of time till they get tired or they feel like, okay, that was enough. No, we don't do that either, but it's a little bit closer. Why is it closer? It's because it uses your own muscles. That's right. What do isometrics do? They use your own muscles. So for example, here you're using the pecs on one side of the chest against the pecs on the opposite side of the chest. And you are squeezing the heck out of the hands, basically pushing the palms together. Great. But there is a lot of room for improvement when we're talking about isometrics. Why? Because, well, first of all, most isometrics is done, as name implies, statically. Isometric means basically static movement, or static no movement, static positioning of the body. And we don't do it in the static position. We do something similar to isometrics, but we actually move. And the way we move is something that gives you the ability to engage a much greater percentage of the muscle fibers of any muscle that we're engaging. For example, in this case, they said the pecs. The pecs are like the fan that fans out from the armpit and goes up to the clavicle bone, attaches to all the parts of the sternum, and even down here at the solar plexus attaches to the ribs. Now, how do we engage all these different parts? Well, we need to push doing bench presses or doing push-ups at different angles. To engage the lower pecs, we need to push down. To engage the upper pecs, we need to push up. And in order to engage all the other fibers, we need to push in all the other possible angles, which is not what anyone does. Most people just focus on one or two, maybe maximum 3 positions of the bench if they do bench presses. And when you do push-ups, well, basically you're pushing against gravity. Gravity is pulling you in the exact same direction, straight down towards the center of planet Earth. So what we do is we change the position of the hands, slowly moving them around, engaging them in all the possible directions, all the possible angles. Just try it. Putting your hands in a prayer-like position, squeeze them to the top of your full capacity to squeeze them. Now, we're not going to be practicing at full capacity. From there, from 100%, slowly reduce the intensity of pressure to about 75. So 3/4 of full capacity, okay? So if you can squeeze, for example, a scale that you can stand and weigh yourself
I'm gonna get my coffee.
like 100 pounds or whatever it is.
Where's the lighters at? What did you do with the lighters?
The lottery tickets?
Lighter.
What happens here is that we're gonna operate at about 70, 75, maybe 80% if you really want to go gung-ho, because we haven't warmed up. Once you warm up, you can do more things, but in order to warm up, you need to do some exercises. That's exactly what we're doing. So we start making circles. And as we're making these circles, we're continuously pressing the hands against each other. And we are doing this observing if there are any areas along this circular trajectory of movement that is harder to squeeze the hands at the same level of strength? That's right. It's most likely that you have greater strength in some parts of your muscle mass, the muscle group, and maybe a little bit less or significantly less in other parts of the muscle group. It's because you didn't train them this way. That's the reason. Now, whenever you're ready, reverse this circular movement. So if you went clockwise, go counterclockwise now. As you can see, we're engaging all the different parts of the pecs, the lower pecs, the mid pecs, the upper pecs, and everything in between. Another thing that also can be really remarkable about harmonious strength training is that we want to synchronize the physical actions with physiological functions of the body. For example, here, as the hands are rising, that's the perfect time to inhale, isn't it? As your hands are going down, that's a great time to exhale. Now, I want you to actually synchronize your movements with your breathing, not breathing synchronized to the movements. So check with your body. When does it want to inhale, or how frequently does it want to breathe? Basically, the pace of breathing ideally would be telling you how fast to move or how big circles to make. That should be particularly clear once you get that habit, the habit of synchronizing the physical actions with some physiological functions of the body. It's actually called entrainment, and it's a really important aspect of physiological functioning of the body in general, when the physiology doesn't have to struggle with your movements, and your movements don't have to fight against the physiology. I hope it makes good sense. Now, that's not all. Another thing about working, for example, the right pec against the left pec, as you probably know real well, most people are either right-handed or left-handed. Well, guess what? Whichever side is the dominant side is most likely going to be more trained because it just gets more engagement in daily life. In other words, if you're a right-handed person, it's more likely that you hammer things with your right hand, or if you saw wood with the right hand, or if you're doing any other type of activities that require any dexterity and any strength, it's more likely than not that you're using your right hand, more so than your left hand. And vice versa, if you're a lefty, it's more likely that you are sewing things with your left hand, hammering things with your left hand. In other words, you're using the dominant side of your body a lot more than non-dominant. As a result of that, the non-dominant side ends up being less trained, or in other words, it's weaker. And where there is weakness, it's more likely to be tension. In other words, if your muscles are equally strong, then they balance each other. But if there is lack of balance or imbalance, guess what happens? There's going to be the distortion of the body, whether it's distortion of the rib cage because the muscles on the stronger side are pulling the sternum. It may actually create scoliosis. It may create all kinds of other uncomfortable and undesirable conditions. I can go a lot deeper into it, but I believe that you trust me that just having more strength on one side is not particularly great, and the weaker side needs more training. That's exactly what happens here. The stronger side, whichever side is stronger in your body, is providing more resistance to the weaker side. Now, the weaker side is going to get the workout. The stronger side, because it's getting resistance from the relatively weaker side, is not really getting as much workout. And that creates greater and greater balance over time. Makes sense, right? Now, when you develop greater balance between the right and left sides of the body, you become less crooked, you become more aligned. And when there is more alignment, your skeletal structure, your spine and other bones can carry the weight of your body. When you're not exercising, your muscles can relax. And then the bones do all the work. When the muscles are relaxed, they don't create energy blockages in your body. And anyone familiar with Qigong or Oriental medicine in general knows that energy blockages are the root causes of ill health. So this is actually a practice that addresses the root causes of ill health, the energy blockages. Now, there may be other reasons why there may be energy blockages in different parts of the body, and we'll be addressing them as well. But this is just an obvious one. If there is an imbalance, there's going to be misalignment. If there's misalignment, the spine is not straight. It does not provide you all the structural support that it could. And with lack of structural integrity, something has to compensate for the misalignment, and that will be the muscle tension. And if their muscles are constantly holding tension, they're going to create energy blockages, and in general, be stiff and painful. Who wants that, right? Now, that is one of the good reasons to practice harmonious strength training. We just simply are sick and tired of being stiff or sore. Well, unfortunately, when we do other types of training, that's exactly what we end up with. If you have ever lifted weights, or if you used exercise machines, or done any other type of anaerobic strength training. Anaerobic means high intensity exercise for a relatively short amount of time when you're burning ATP, the energy molecules in the muscles, rather than relying on breathing oxygen and using that for aerobic exercise. Now, what happens when people lift weights or use exercise machines? Most likely, they want to create some damage to the muscle. Now, some people don't think that, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and damage my muscle, but that's exactly what the hypertrophy requires. In order to build bigger muscles, you need to actually damage the muscle tissue. When the muscle fibers are getting torn or compromised, they actually start healing. While they're healing, of course, they're not feeling great because they've been messed up. They've been torn, or some other ways they've been compromised in such a way that they don't function well. So after working out a few hours or maybe a day later, you may be like, oh my God, why am I so stiff? Right? It's like you try to lift the arm, shoulder are tense, or the pecs are tense, or the abs, or legs, whatever you were working out, often that is going to be quite tense. Why?
Yeah, the Chiefs and
Two
Browns are
reasons.
playing.
One is
Ten-
because you are actually over exercising, you overexerting yourself. And when that happens, not only do you cause discomfort to the muscles in real time while you're exercising, but it has lasting residual effect, right? So the following day or two, you can't exercise because you feel decrepit if you overtrain. There is another reason. The central nervous system, when it sends the signals to contract the muscles, those signals start trickling down the wires, down the neural pathways to the muscles. Well, not all muscle units are activated at the same time. Some of those signals get lost in translation. Some of them go on a strange loop. Maybe they start feeding into some other muscle that unrelated to this particular muscle in question that you wanted to contract. For example, how often do you see people, let's say, lifting something heavy and they're tensing up their neck and their face? Well, there's no reason to tense up their face muscle. That's not going to help you lift anything heavy. Muscles basically are getting fed some of those runaway nerve signals that get fed into the muscles that don't really have to engage in this particular activity. Now, I'm not against integration using more muscles than is absolutely necessary. I'm not really a proponent of isolation exercises. When we isolate one muscle, for example, if you want to work on the biceps, just doing biceps curls in an isolated fashion like this. No, I actually believe in compounding exercise, which means you engage different muscle groups involved in this exercise. So for example, instead of doing this, I do this and extend the arm behind my back, and then go forward and flex the biceps all the way into the position so the hand goes behind the back of the neck. Why do I go behind the back of the neck? Because it's the shortest position for the biceps. Biceps doesn't only flex the arm at the elbow, it also lifts the arm, the long head of the biceps. Now the triceps is the muscle antagonist of the biceps. You know, the triceps, the muscle that extends the arm at the elbow. Well, it also is responsible for this movement. And the fitness industry is usually referred to as a pullover. So basically, it's like you're taking off the pullover or the sweater off of your head, overhead. And what it does, it engages the triceps. Now, what we're doing here is we're actually engaging the biceps of the same arm against the triceps of that very arm. What does that do? It literally exercises the muscles antagonists. Why do we want to exercise the muscles antagonists in this case? Well, because, well, there are several reasons. One is really, really simple. Just like I was talking about the right and left side imbalance, almost everyone who goes to the gym or wants to work out, they want to work out so that it would look good. How do you know that you're getting any benefits from your training? Well, just look in the mirror. If you look in the mirror, what do you see? You see the muscles in front of your body. Those are the muscles you're going to give maximum attention to because that's what you see. So you're going to be giving attention to the pecs, to the anterior delts, to abs, to the biceps, to the quads. The muscles that you see in the mirror are in the front of the body. Now the muscles in the back side of your body, whether it's the muscles of the back or trapezius or triceps or muscles of the lower back, QLs, and also rector spinae, the longest muscle group in the body that runs along the spine all the way from the occiput, the back of the skull, down to the sacrum. All of these muscles are by and large left alone or not getting as much exercise as they deserve. As a result of that, something funny happens. People often have much stronger anterior deltoid than a posterior deltoid. They often have more biceps than triceps muscle. For example, the pecs. Yes, that's great to have nice pecs. But what about the muscles antagonists? The trapezius and the rhomboids. Many people don't even know that they have them. And if they do see them, they only see the upper traps. Well, the upper trap is nice to have, but that's only a small part of the trapezius muscle. Most of it covers the entire upper back, going from the scapula, from the shoulder blade, all the way up to the skull, and connecting to each and every vertebra of the neck, as well as each and every vertebra of a rib cage. So basically, those are muscles that are often underappreciated, undertrained, and as a result of that, they're weaker than the muscles antagonists in the front of the body. So what happens if my pecs are stronger than my rhomboids and traps? My shoulders go forward. I start developing slouched posture. Now, it seemed like I was doing something great. I was working out, I was exercising, but I actually create another form of imbalance between front and back. Even worse, it's the muscular tension. It's the game of tug of war. I like to put it this way. The game of tug of war between the muscles of abs and muscles of the back. People, by and large, want to have six-pack abs. Nobody seems to want to have six-pack backs. And what happens as a result? They develop greater strength in the muscles of the front of the body. These abs that, attach to the rib cage by the solar plexus and down here to the pubic bone, they basically win the tug of war, which does what? Which tilts the whole torso forward slightly, eliminating lumbar curve, giving you what we call kyphosis, or just a question mark shape of your torso. Now, when the muscle is strong, it actually wins the game of tug of war, and then it can be relaxed. The loser, the muscle of the back in this case, lost the tug of war game, and now it actually has to compensate for slouched misalignment of the entire body. So the weight of the upper torso and the head are carried by the muscles of the back. Now, if the spine is not upright. In other words, the weak muscles lose out, and then they have to hold tension. So I hope that is really clear to you now, that tension is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness. In modern lifestyle and the way of thinking, most people just confuse tension for strength. They think, oh, I'm going to be tense, and so I'm going to be strong. Like look at Pilates. I've worked with many Pilates instructors. They were the most tense people I've ever worked with. Why? Because they're trying to look good by holding tension. Well, nobody's ever actually achieved health by holding tension because it created more energy blockages in their bodies. So what we're doing is we are doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. If everyone is going to Pilates classes, we say, look, you want to get the same results that they get? Do the same thing that they do. If you want to get better results, well, you got to do things differently. So what are we going to do differently? We are going to engage the muscles antagonists against each other so that the muscles of the front, which are likely to be stronger, will give the workout to the muscles of the back, whether it's the back of the arm or back of the legs, hamstrings. Nobody seemed to have strong enough hamstrings. That's why flexibility is such a challenge for most people. Like lifting a leg up, it's an event in their life. Leaning over to tie the shoelaces is a challenge for some reason. Now, that's because of the posterior chain. The muscles of the hamstrings, calves, buttocks, and back are holding too much tension. Why are they holding tension? Because they're weak, not because they're strong. So we need to give them workout, and what would be a better way to develop greater balance than to engage the stronger muscle antagonist? It's already responsible for counteracting this muscle. So basically, they are already designed to work in tandem. Might as well put them to good use. So biceps against triceps. Easy combination, right? So you just simply contract your biceps against triceps, not just holding tension like you're flexing arms, showing off the muscles. I'm not showing off anything. I'm going to go through full range of motion. I'm going with my hand behind my back of the head, and then I'm extending the arm as I am dropping the arm down, and I'm going all the way back. Now, this is the longest position for the biceps, shortest position for the triceps. Well, we don't stop there. We go back. And it stands to reason that you'll probably want to inhale as the arm goes up. And when are you going to exhale? All right, when the arm goes down and back. Or you can fine-tune this exercise even better by aligning the pace of your movement of the arms with your breath. Now that would be a really intelligent way to do it. So it's going to become one of the key reminders that I will be doing during our next program, the program called Harmonious Strength Training program. And during the program, I will be holding you accountable to integrate these as habits into your lifestyle. It's not just an exercise program, it's a lifestyle program. Now, before I talk about lifestyle, let's just do a little workout. We have two arms, so why train one arm at once and then switch to the other arm and train that one? We're all busy people, so let's do both arms at the same time. So the arms are going behind, the hands are going behind the back of the head, and then I am lifting the hands. You can even imagine that you're holding something in your hands, maybe a medicine ball, a heavy medicine ball that you lifted. But then it's an imaginary medicine ball, so you can go past your torso with it, and arms go behind you, straight at elbows. Then you're lifting this medicine ball again and bringing it behind the back of your head. That's when you inhale. And then bring the arms down and back when you exhale. How fast to move depends on your breathing pattern. So if you need to breathe a little bit more intensely, just move faster. You don't have to move at my pace. My breathing is relatively slow, but after I do this for a minute or so, I'm going to be breathing faster and faster. Why is that? Because I'm burning up the ATP. The muscles contain molecules called adenosine triphosphate, ATP for short. And this is the energy reserve in the muscle fibers. Literally, you can engage the muscle in a lot of intense activity on the fly because it doesn't wait for the oxygen to come from breathing intensely. The aerobic exercise is for endurance. Strength comes from engaging muscles in the anaerobic regime of workout. But we don't want to forget about endurance, right? We want to experience both benefits, the strength and the endurance that we can get out of this training. How do we get to switch from the anaerobic to the aerobic regime? This is actually one of the cornerstones of Harmonious Strength Training method. It literally allows you to experience both anaerobic and aerobic regime in one sitting. How is it possible? Very easy. You just keep doing what you started doing. You just keep going through this entire range of motion. And as you do this for maybe half a minute or so, maybe up to a minute, you will start getting tired. Your muscles may even start feeling some burning sensations in them. Well, that's okay. Just gradually tone down the intensity. Don't stop. Don't drop this exercise like a hot potato just because you feel getting tired. No, that's how you develop endurance. So you started with the strength training anaerobic regime, but as you are getting tired and your muscles run out of ATP, they need oxygen. So you will start breathing more intensely. And as you're breathing more intensely, you may want to tone down the intensity of your contraction of the muscles. So that instead of 70–75% of full capacity, you go down to 55 or 60, and then tone down a little bit more, or scale down to maybe 40 or 45%. Well, don't stop there. Go down to 30 or even 25%. And eventually, maybe down to 10% of full capacity. In other words, it's going to be a relatively relaxed movement. Guess what? You have just transitioned from the anaerobic to the aerobic regime, from strength training to endurance training. And you can do this easily and smoothly because you're using your muscle as antagonists, as a self-resistance method of training. That's the only method of training I know of that allows you to get both strength and endurance in one sitting, because you are not using weights. You don't have to put the weights down to change them. You're not using machines, so you don't have to stop exercising, get off the machine, make some adjustments, get back on it. No, you're just simply adjusting things on the fly. You just simply choosing to tense up less. And because you are the one doing tension, you are the one who can be in charge of it. And that is also an amazing benefit. Why is that? Because once you develop mastery of your tension, then you can also figure out how to be less tense. Since nobody does tension to you, you are the one who's creating tension in your body. In this case, you're doing it consciously. Until now, perhaps you had some unconscious tensions in the body. Most humans do have some unconscious tensions. And they can't quit having those tensions because they're not even conscious that they're doing it. So they don't know how to stop doing it. But if you consciously develop mastery of your own tension, then it's up to you how much to tense up, but it also means how much to relax. So that, my friends, is what gives you the ability to tone down the intensity and eventually arrive to 0 or maybe 1 or 2%, just healthy muscle mass, muscle tone. And what happens as a result? You feel really relaxed. Unlike most other strength training programs or protocols where you finish workout and you actually feel stiff and sore. Make sense? Just nod your head. I can't hear you because I turned all the mics off, but I want to hear some feedback or see some feedback. Great. So you literally are mastering the tension within your own body so that if you have some undue tension, now you know, first, it's not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness. What do you do with a tense muscle? You need to consciously contract it so that it works out and gets stronger. But then you also reduce the level of intensity of this workout and further down to the point where this muscle is actually relaxed. Where there was tension, now there's no tension anymore. It works like magic. It's like, how is it possible to consciously just reduce tension? That's non-doing. Non-doing in Chinese philosophy, Wu Wei, is one of those mysterious abilities of the immortals in Taoism, that they were capable of practicing non-doing somehow. Well, this is what we're doing. We're practicing non-doing. We're first doing more in terms of tension. We're sending more signals of contraction, but then we actually start reducing the signals to contract to the muscles to the point that now we become really relaxed. So at the end of the workout, if you do it right, you will be feeling more relaxed than you were at the beginning of the workout. I hope you don't mind that. Now, that's not all. There is also another really cool and completely misunderstood or just not known aspect of strength training that most people never even heard of or never think about. You know how most people heard about the brain, that we use maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15% of full brain capacity. I don't know exactly the percentage number. Maybe different people have different utilization of the brains. However, the same principles apply to other parts of the body, including our muscles. That's right. We're also not using our muscles very effectively. Most people, when they contract the muscles on purpose, they send a signal of contraction, they actually don't send a signal to all the muscle fibers at once, or they try to, but the muscle fibers are not getting these signals. Remember, I was talking about how some signals get lost, some signals get misrouted to the wrong muscles. They just go on a loop sometimes and make their way to the muscles way later, maybe minutes or even hours later. That's another reason why you may feel tense the following day or following morning when you wake up after workout. is because finally those signals of contraction actually percolated or trickled down the muscle to the muscle. And so now the muscle's fibers actually are contracting way too late. There's no reason for them to contract for real. It's just they're getting the memo really late. What do we do for that? Well, there is actually a whole science of muscle unit utilization. In other words, when we contract the muscles, we send the signals from central nervous system to the muscle fibers, go ahead and contract. But only 10, 15%, and most people, highly trained individuals, professional athletes, serious martial artists, yeah, they can contract more, maybe 20, maybe even 30% of their muscle, maybe even more. Maybe Bruce Lee would contract 50% of his muscles. I don't know. What I do know is that there is a very clever way to improve communication between the nerve endings and the muscle fibers. That's right. You can actually enhance communication between the central nervous system and the muscles. And the best way to train for that enhancement, for creating greater communication, is so-called eccentric phase of movement. Has anyone heard of eccentric phase? Yes, I see one head nodding. Great. So what's the eccentric phase? Well, for example, if I'm lifting something using my biceps, when I lift weights, that's a concentric phase. So the two ends of the muscle are getting closer together as I'm sending the signals to the muscle to contract. However, when you're putting that weight down, that's the eccentric phase. You're not slamming it, you're not dropping it, you are slowly lowering it down, and the muscle is contracting, but the two ends of the muscle actually are going farther apart. So the muscle is lengthening, but it's still under a load. In other words, it's still operating at a relatively high level of its intensity. Some smart bodybuilders figured, oh, I can even train with weights that are heavier than I can lift. All I need to do is to slowly lower these weights down and engage the muscle in that way. Now, those are smart cookies because they are not only working with high loads, but also they are using eccentric phase of movement. And that is the phase of movement that actually facilitates the neuro connection between the nerve endings in the muscles and the fibers of the muscle. That, my friends, is what we're going to be doing. We already done it. You may not know it, but we have done it already. How? Because when we were contracting the biceps, that going through the concentric phase, the triceps is resisting going through eccentric phase. Now, when you are going in the opposite direction, the triceps is contracting and going through concentric phase. The biceps is lengthening, but still resisting. That's the eccentric phase. And we're not just working with the biceps and triceps in our program. We work with all the different muscle groups. Maybe some muscles that you don't even know about. Certainly, we're going to work with some muscle groups that never get training in the traditional strength training protocols or programs. Just one example. Neck muscles. Neck muscles, and most people are not particularly strong. How do we know that they're not particularly strong? Because most people experience some undue tension in their neck. They have proverbial pain in the neck. Remember, we just talked about how tension is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness. Strong muscles can perform their function easily without much ado. The weak ones, you put the same load on them and they go into overdrive. They get overly stressed or go into spasm. Or if they don't go into spasm, they just work at the top of their full capacity. Basically, that's the difference between the strong muscle and weak muscle. The weak muscle can't work as hard. The strong muscle would not be holding this tension because it's no big deal for the strong muscle. It's the weak muscle that is holding tension because it's having a hard time doing the simple movements or just turning the head from side to side. Or if you have like head forward posture, you have some tension in the back muscle, back of the neck muscles. Or if you have some other holding pattern, maybe you're holding out, well, then you will be, again, holding tension, not on the short side of the neck, on the long side of the neck. That side is getting stretched, but now it lost in the game of tug of war. So the stronger side won. Strong side can actually relax. The weight of the head, which is usually the weight of a heavy bowling ball, like 10, 12 pounds, so maybe 5 kilograms, 6 kilograms, now is not supported by the vertebra of the neck very well. So something else has to compensate for the crooked neck. And that would be the muscles of the longer side, because it's getting stretched and it has to hold the weight of the head. Now, if those muscles get stronger and more balanced between the right and left sides, they will actually not hold undue tension. They will do their job effortlessly and maybe even realign your structure so that you will be in better balance. Now we're talking about the need for strength training for some parts of the body that you don't lift weights with. Like nobody lifts weights with their necks, right? As far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody does lift weights. I have never heard of that. And I've done a lot of physical training and actually used to own a gym back in the old country. So what do? I train neck muscles. Simply as that. You turn the head, tilt the head to the side, working the scalenes on the one side against the scalenes on the other side. You can also go back and forth, tilt the head down, tilt the head up, extend and flex your neck muscles. You can also turn the head to side. Those muscles literally are so weak. Many people have a hard time even turning their heads. How often do you see an older fella or older lady who have a hard time turning their head? So they turn their whole body to look at a different direction. That looks like a robot, right? Well, what's the alternative? To train the neck muscles so that they are strong and therefore relaxed. My dad is turning 86 this month. And he is super weak because he has not been training what my grandfather was teaching. So my grandfather didn't designate my dad to be the lineage holder of Qidao. He designated yours truly because I was much more dedicated, I would say, to the training. And so I'm quite strong. You don't probably see a lot of 55-year-olds who can do Navy SEAL push-ups and push-ups standing and handstands and things like that. Now, my dad, on the other hand, is so weak, I just took him for a walk this afternoon, and at some point, he just couldn't walk anymore. He had no strength. I had to actually drag him back to his apartment. So I promised myself, I'll never be like my dad when it comes to losing strength by the age of 86. How am I going to do this? How am I going to keep myself strong? Well, I'm going to continue training. I'm going to continue offering these trainings. And when I do these programs, trust me, I work out. And when I don't do these programs, trust me, I work out anyway. So whether I'm teaching it or I'm just doing it by myself, I turn it into a lifestyle. Remember a few minutes ago, I mentioned something about lifestyle, didn't I? Let's come back full circle. Our program called Harmonious Strength Training Program will not only teach you how to exercise and how to engage different muscles in your body and how to create greater balance in your system, it will also help you develop the habit of training yourself. Because what you do in between the weekly coaching sessions that our program will include is what is really going to matter. You know, we can train together for an hour on Saturday morning. If you are in the States or in Canada or in the Western Hemisphere, in Europe, where I'm right now, it's going to be Saturday evening. Still, I'm going to dedicate Saturday evening to working with you, my friends. And what we're going to do that particular hour is going to be extraordinary. But what's going to happen the other 6 days and 23 hours in between, that is going to be even more important, because I will be encouraging and imploring you to do some homework, and I will be keeping you accountable. And if you don't have any accountability partner, most likely you won't do it. You know, I've worked with thousands of people for the last 30 years since I started teaching this. And I can say with certainty that without accountability partners, we usually slack off, or we don't do what we say we would do in most cases. When it comes to strength training, it's really easy. I can tell whether or not you did it, and I can keep you accountable. How do I know that you did something? Because it's really easy to tell. If you do it with ease and confidence, then you know you have done the homework. If you are having a hard time with something, well, I can tell that you didn't do it. But we can also use our community. You know, we have a pretty large community, international community of like-minded people, about 15,000 people from all over the world now. This is an amazing community that can support each other. Now, out of this community, we're going to actually select the inner circle, those folks who are going to enroll in this program. They are going to form a micro community of people particularly dedicated to strength training, specifically harmonious strength training, and are committed to supporting each other. So you also will be welcome to share with the members of the community how things are going for you. I will encourage you to even videotape yourself and upload your videos for other folks to see. That's one of the easiest ways to keep you accountable. Another thing we also do is if somebody has some challenges, they bring them up. Other members of the community will jump in, help them out. Either myself or some of my apprentices will also be there, and we'll be continuing offering some assistance in between the sessions. And to make it even sweeter, everyone on today's master class, everyone who's participating live, like I see you right now, you will receive a complimentary Qigong coaching session from me, which can be focused on harmonious strength training. If you want to, you can focus on some other aspects of Qigong or Tai Chi or any other disciplines that I teach and practice. I will be happy to basically individually tailor this coaching session to your needs, to address your particular concerns or questions or issues. And I charge a fair amount of money for my sessions, at least $300 an hour. This is going to be free of charge. As a matter of fact, I also dropped the price for the harmonious strength training from $597, or $600, down to $300, or $297 to be precise. What does that mean? It means for the price of less than one coaching session, you actually get the full program plus the coaching session anyway. Or you can say, okay, I'm paying for the coaching session. Now the whole program is free of charge for me. Whichever way you slice it or dice it, it's an amazing offer. I want you to take advantage of it. How do you take advantage of it? Just go to Qigong, automatic. Just go to harmoniousstrengthtraining.com. Harmonious. You know how to spell harmonious? I know how to spell harmonious. I'm going to put it right here in the chat right now. HarmoniousStrengthTraining.com. I'll even put HTTP for you. There. Just click on this link. You will see another really nice video in which I explain to even greater detail some of the intricacies of the program, some of the details that perhaps you may have some questions about. And right on that page, you can also click the button to register today. We're going to be starting this program even before the end of the year. I think we're going to start between the week between Christmas and New Year. Some people say, oh, I'm going to be spending time with my family, or I'm going to be in the Caribbean. It doesn't matter. Just carve out 1 hour on that Saturday and join us for a program. You can be anywhere in the world. In fact, I can be anywhere in the world, and we can still meet. So I'm talking about the 28th of December. If we have enough people in the program, we will start on the 28th. If we still need some more folks to justify the program because I dropped the price so much, well, maybe I will start on the beginning of January. But between now and beginning of January, you can receive an individual coaching session with me. Once you register, you will also get access to all the training materials. Now, not to overwhelm you, those training materials will be delivered to you in like a drop delivery of content pattern. So basically, once a week, you'll receive a new module and a new video training. So in addition to video training modules I was just talking about, you'll also be able to participate in our weekly group coaching sessions that will be happening on Saturday, the same time, 9 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 a.m. Pacific and 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 noon Eastern Time. If you are in Atlantic time zone in the, New Brunswick or Puerto Rico, well, it's going to be 1 o'clock. And you will be actually led through this program. Not just initially, I was thinking, I'm going to cut this program down because I reduced the tuition, so I'm going to just make it 6 weeks instead of 12 weeks. And then I thought, you know what? I don't do this for money. I love doing what I do. I am going to offer folks the opportunity to go through the entire 12-week program. So you're in luck. I'm actually going to be working with you for the entire 3 months. And you will also receive the recordings of all the sessions. So if you happen to miss any of them, or just simply you got distracted at any point, you will be able to review everything that happened during the sessions. You will get access to those recordings as well as video trainings and even our individual coaching session. You will receive a recording of that as well. So that is my offer to you. Did I miss something? Yes, I did. I'm also going to offer you 3 additional bonuses. My most popular online courses. Number 1 online course, most popular among my students is abundance through being in the flow. Well, who wouldn't want that, right? Abundance is a wonderful thing, and abundance through being in the flow is one of my favorite courses. Thousands of people, literally thousands of people, have benefited from this course over the decade since I published it. Now, another thing that you will also receive is a course on manifesting the life of your dreams. The new year is coming right around the corner. Most of us come up with some New Year's resolutions. Most of us forget about these New Year's resolutions or just simply to get distracted by all kinds of other things. By February or March, those people who joined the gyms in the beginning of January are nowhere to be seen. Most people don't stick with the program because there is no accountability. There is hardly anyone who can rely on friends anymore. Why? Because friends have their own agendas, they have their own busy schedules, or they simply don't have the capacity or the tenacity to keep you accountable so that you do what you said you would do. You strength train, you develop greater vitality, you develop greater health. And I'm going to offer this online course to you as a bonus, free of charge. And there is one more thing, as Steve Jobs used to say, late Steve Jobs, who was probably one of the most outstanding presenters on stage. What's the one more thing? Well, I decided I'm going to offer you for free the course on Dream Yoga. I'm one of the few teachers of Tibetan Dream Yoga in the United States, and now I'm in Europe. And so now I'm one of the few, if any, teachers of Dream Yoga in Europe at the moment. And I'm going to offer it to you for free. It was something that I recorded over the retreat in the Canary Islands dedicated to Dream Yoga. And all those recordings got edited and put into an online course. I'm going to offer this online course to you as well, on the house. So please go to harmoniousstrengthtraining.com, register today. If you have any questions for me right now, feel free to raise your hand, ask me anything about this program or anything about any of my other teachings. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that Suli has a question. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Hi.
Hi.
The modules, are they on your website? We just log in and get the modules, or?
Exactly. Yes, you will also receive emails with the links to them, just in case you forgot to log in. I will keep you accountable. I will be delivering content on a regular basis. We'll also be emailing you reminders to participate in our weekly sessions. So you will be handheld. You'll be held by the hand by me and by any of my apprentices who may participate as additional instructors. And also you will receive access to all the other online courses I just mentioned, bonuses. And there you don't have to get drip delivery of content. You can get access to all the modules at once.
So once we register, we'll get a link with a password set up and things like that?
You will set up your own password.
Right.
And when you want to access any of these materials, you just go to the website. I can tell you what it is. It's Academy of Qidao/library. You will receive a link to it. So in the library, you will have access to the materials that I just mentioned: Harmonious Strength Training Program, Dream Yoga online course, the online course on abundance through being in the flow, and how to manifest the life of your dreams.
And to register, is there a code we have to put in to get the discount, or?
Oh, I just gave you the link that will take care of it. HarmoniousStrengthTraining.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wonderful. Hey, Linda, raising your hand. I can only see the top of your head, but
okay, here I am.
here you are.
My question is, I work on Saturdays. I don't get off of work until 6:00 p.m. So I can just listen to the recording, do the recording, watch the training.
Yeah. Everything
Okay.
is recorded. And also, if you need some additional assistance, just shoot an email to me And I may arrange a session, a private session for you, either with myself or one of my apprentices, so that you don't fall behind.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Good questions. Who else has any questions? Please raise your hand. And are you raising a hand, or are you just petting yourself? You're welcome to ask any questions. And I probably will be one of the people that you will also be encountering in our program as my apprentice. So you are welcome to keep her in mind. Anyone else has any questions? Please ask me anything. You are welcome to ask me any questions about harmonious strength training or strength in general or health or vitality. We're also starting a new company called the Resilience Center. You're welcome to ask me any questions about resilience. I know a thing or two about it. Well, going once? Going twice? All right, if there are no questions, I want to... I want to thank you for being here, and I look forward to training with you. In the new year, we're going to have some serious fun. We're going to start the new year strong, and we will keep that new year as strong as humanly possible, because we'll develop the habit of strength training. It's not going to stop in 3 months, because you will learn how to do it yourself. And all you need is self-resistance. You have everything that you need for strength training. You just need some specific techniques and methods to be shared with you so that you integrate them into your training, develop habit of doing the training. And I also have some tricks of the trade of how to develop habits much more efficiently, so that you will feel like, wow, this is amazing. I have a totally new lifestyle. Well, just one little tip before I let you go today. One little tip. You know how we live mostly sedentary lifestyles. I'm looking at you. Most of you seem to be sitting. I'm standing, so obviously I'm not doing as much of sedentary lifestyle as most of us do, but I sit still relatively much more than I probably want to. So what do? I get up off my butt and I move. Once an hour, maybe every 2 hours, I get up and I just do maybe 5 or 10 minutes of strength training. It's so easy. You don't have to drive to the gym for an hour dealing with the traffic. You don't have to change in the gym clothes. You don't have to listen to the silly gym music. You don't have to wait for people to be done with lifting the weights at your station that you want to use, or use the exercise machine that you're trying to use. You don't have to do this for a whole hour at the gym because you feel like, well, I better put as much time into this training as I can, because, well, it's an event. And then going back to the gym locker room and changing into street clothes and driving back home and taking shower. The whole thing is like a 2-3 hour affair for most people. Here, you just get off your butt and you do some strength training for just 5-10 minutes. Literally develop the habit that will keep you a lot healthier, that will provide you strength instead of weakness, because if you don't use them, I'm talking about the muscles, you lose them, right? Instead of losing them, you actually get stronger and stronger over time. Everyday strength training is possible. Most people don't do strength training every day because they're too sore after they're working out. And one day, the following day, they can't lift weights, they cannot do much exercises because they're too damn sore. We train smart instead of hard, so that we don't develop soreness. How do we become strong? We don't rely on breaking down the muscle fibers. What do we do instead? We learn how to recruit greater percentage of muscle fibers. You already have the muscle mass. All you need to do is to make sure that when you send the signals of contraction, you make it to all those muscle fibers. So instead of 10, 15% of your muscle mass recruited to perform a movement, you recruit 20 or 30%. Seems like, well, it's still only 1/5 or maybe 1/3 of my muscles that are being recruited when I want to use it. But now you'll have twice, maybe even 3 times as much strength because you're using a greater percentage of the muscles that you have. So this is an amazing way to boost your strength. And that's something that will turn into a lifestyle, as I promised. If you have any doubts about it, please trust me. I will make sure that you benefit. And if you don't benefit for whatever reason, maybe you just got lazy, maybe you got sick, maybe something happened and you couldn't participate in the program, I stand by it. I want you to benefit from it. I will actually let you retake this program for free. Next time I launch this program, I will let you do this program again at no extra charge if you don't benefit from it the first time around. That's my guarantee to you. Fair enough? On this note, I will let you go. Thank you very much. I will look forward to seeing you next Saturday when we're celebrating winter solstice with my friend David Beaudry. Saturday 21st. Julie, do you have another question before we like?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Go
once
ahead.
we get the modules, we get to keep them forever? Or the
Yes.
12 weeks?
Yes, you get to keep them for as long as I operate that website. And hopefully, if I don't operate that website, that's because something terrible happened to me. And then there will be a new person appointed who would take over Academy of Chidao and do this work.
And how the classes are an hour long?
Yes, by and large, they're hour long, but sometimes I run overtime because my time management is not as great as I would like it to be. So right now we've been on the call for an hour and 13 minutes.
And
It's no
then
big deal.
during the week, how much time do you think we would need to practice, or what's recommended?
I recommend starting about 10, 15 minutes a day first, and then boost it to maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then bring it up to 25 or 30 minutes. And eventually maybe you will go for 40, 45 minutes if you really go gung-ho. By the end of the 3-month program, you will probably feel like, wow, I'm getting about 40, 45 minutes of strength training every day. Now, that is something that would be really great, but you don't have to. If you have such a busy schedule, maybe you don't have to do 40 minutes, maybe you do only 25 or 30. What separates harmonious strength training from most other methods of training is that it's actually pleasant. Most people who work out lifting weights, they often dread going to the gym because it's not particularly pleasant. Their body is not really happy to do the disharmonious strength training. But this is a harmonious strength training. You will feel like, wow, this is so cool. I can do this anywhere, anytime, and I feel great doing it. So I can't wait to do more of it. So I will not need to encourage you to do more of it. You will actually probably feel like, wow, I can't wait to do more of this training.
And it's a full body workout, legs and everything?
Yes, we will start with something, basically we go from head to toes, quite literally.
And
But we definitely work with legs, we definitely work with upper legs, lower legs, hips, hip flexors, the muscles of the lower back, upper back, mid back, abdomen, chest, shoulders, arms, lower arms, upper arms, hands, necks. So basically the whole thing.
and so it also improves flexibility then.
Absolutely. Tense muscles are weak muscles. Once you get them stronger, they will be more relaxed.
Thank you.
Flexibility comes, I have a different program that actually includes flexibility and range of motion training much more in depth. So maybe if you graduate from this program and you feel like, I'm ready for something a little bit more interesting. Trust me, there are quite a few other programs that I will be happy to invite you to join. Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. It was lovely to see you, and I look forward to training with you next year. And see you next Saturday. Until then, namaste.